Hello, everybody. My name is Oscar T. Lewis, and this is,
LaShonda Lewis.
and once again, welcome to another podcast of Reaching for Your Marriage. Now, Reaching for Your Marriage is all about relationships. We're going to be looking at it from a lot of different angles. Hey, my bad. I just jumped in front of my wife, and this is one of the reasons why we have this show.
We're going to be talking about relationships. This is going to be a wild ride, so I hope you are ready. We're talking about relationships, dating, marriage, and everything in between. So stay tuned.
Now, from our last show, we were really talking about a little bit about our history, and we are going to continue on with that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it over to my wife, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that, about some of the interesting things that we went through first getting together, and then also some of the challenges as we went through our marriage.
So y'all see how he said he's going to pass it back to me. So just for a little recap, we're tracksters. You can't tell it right now, but we used to be tracksters. So we're going to continue to talk about our story. And unfortunately, we're going to talk about some of the bumps and some of the challenges at the beginning. So this guy, as amazing as he looks right now,
Amazing.
we connected. We became one. And we bore a child.
You mean you allowed nature? Well, honestly, hey, let me just be honest. I was smooth back in. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
But yeah, my wife and I we got together pretty young, and of course, coming together. I'm keeping it PG here, but becoming one. We end up having a little baby. In high school.
okay.
And how did that look like?
I was 17. I was still in high school. You were about to go off to college.
I was 18, and I was a senior. So I was a senior in high school. You was a junior
Yes.
in high school when we had our oldest child.
Yes. And the challenge of that is, once again, my family's military and very much in church. So getting pregnant before marriage is the cardinal sin.
Well, let me back up a little bit, just to give a little bit more background. As we said in our last episode about how my wife was very much a church girl, and not only was she a church girl, not only like just going to church, she was very involved in church.
Very much
she
so.
had a position. She taught the choir, and she stayed with a pastor at the time, her family and stuff like that. That's another part of our own journey in which now I'm gonna throw this in here real quick. During this book right here, Triumphs Through Transitions, she really talks about some of our own personal journey that she's been through. But I just wanted to quickly sort of speak about the fact that she was very involved in her church. Okay, I want you to understand this. And a lot of people looked at her as the golden girl, like the good girl. Like, in other words, have you ever been in that spot to where you just feel like this person can do no wrong? Well, that's how other people felt about my wife at the time.
Well, I was a good girl and I was a golden girl until Mr. Smooth over here, as he wants to call himself, came in, and then life blew up.
Life did blow up. And, please don't look at me like I'm a heath. I didn't know any better, right? I really didn't. But the fact of the matter is that, once we bore the child, then my wife, she went through some of our own type of struggles.
Just being pregnant, it was terrible. So finding out that I was pregnant while I was running track, having to tell my coach that I would not be going to state because, well, she pretty much knew because I would run the times. And then after we would run, like if you push, and then you throw up, they're like, yeah, we got him. If you had a really hard workout. But if you only did like one thing and then you throw up, the first day they're like, okay, well, maybe you just ate something bad. But when you do that for a full, 2 weeks, you do a little something and it kind of gives that away. So that was a challenge of having to tell my coach that I wasn't going to be able to do that. And I ran on the relay. So that was huge, having to go to my coach who I looked up to so much, because my coach at the time was not just a coach to me. She was also a very much of a maternal figure. So we got to get a little bit deeper before we start really talking about the whole child thing. Yes, my father was a minister. And yes, they were together for a while, and yes, there was a divorce. However, the part that we really got to dig into is my father was also had demons of his own. He struggled with depression, he struggled with drug addiction, and he was very abusive. He left home as a youngster, had quite a few brothers and sisters, and he had a troubled past. And he really did not know how to deal with that. So the thing that attracted him to my mom, because she was a city girl, she was a military girl, very well-spoken, as they say, very well-spoken. He loved that about her, but that thing became something that he started to hate. And so he took that, he started to change that and took that out on me. So I also had my little sister. And so in the marriage, their marriage, I was 3 years old. My mom went to Korea. So I stayed in the States with my father, and they had a kid with the babysitter. And my mom was away. So I have a half sister. So when my mom came back, they decided to stay married, which they probably shouldn't have. But
Right.
then my other sister wouldn't be here. And so, there was that whole thing of domestic violence, the uncertainty, the struggles of drug addiction, and all of the things that we had to deal with him having those challenges. My mom with her depression. Then there was, my mom had a miscarriage. So my oldest daughter's name is Zania, and that actually is the name of my little sister who passed away. So I told my mom at 10 years old that my first girl, I was going to name her Zania in honor of my sister. And so that's what I did. So there's a deep pain, and there's that we were kind of on the underlying of that. And so with you being so gentle, so kind, never raised your voice.
Yeah.
Because that was something that was unnerving
Right,
for
that was a
me.
trigger.
It was most devastating. And that is going to be another podcast. We're going to
Right.
talk about triggers.
Triggers.
But that was something that we had to deal with at the beginning. So then it was pretty easy for you. That sounds terrible. It wasn't real hard with that gentleness, with that, just that care for us to connect.
Right.
And so we had our first kid, but that was very interesting.
Yeah, it was. And, just thinking about the fact about everything that you've been through, really highlighting and really talking about some of the childhood trauma that you've been through. Unfortunately, that occurs more often than not with a lot of people, with a lot of you. I mean, she's not the only one that's been through some type of childhood trauma. And how that shapes you is a really big force in how you show up in your relationship. So that's very important. And this is one of the reasons why we sort of pausing and really talking about this, because that's extremely important. Now, something else that because of the instability of your household, you spend a lot of time with your grandparents.
Yes.
With your grandmother, and also with your grandfather.
Yes.
And he loved track, right?
Oh my gosh. He thought I was going to be the next FloJo. I mean, I was going to be it. He was like, my granddaughter. So this is back in the time where summers were like the whole 3 months.
Hello, everybody. Once again, thank you for joining us on this podcast. Now, there's something I quickly want to talk to you guys about. It's also this other book that my wife wrote. And what is the name of the book, baby?
Triumph Through Transitions.
And what is the book about? Tell
It
us
is about my personal journey about going through the transitions, because as we're reaching for our marriage, there's a lot of things that happen with me individually and then in the relationships. And there's going to be some of you that are going to resonate with that. Whether you're single, married, or going through, I think that you're going to be blessed by it.
So please make sure to go to Amazon and where you get a copy of this book. Trust me, it's going to be life-changing and it will be helpful and beneficial. And also, last but not least, be sure to click subscribe, to also go to our YouTube channel, Reaching for Your Marriage, and to also join our Facebook group, which is
Reaching for Your Marriage.
Reaching for Your Marriage as well.
Group. Yes.
So once again, click that bell and back to the episode.
So if school got out on the 21st of May, I was with my grandparents in another city by like the 23rd or 24th of May. And we would always go back the week of school, but I spent the entire summer. And so those summers, my granddad was like, you're not going to be good at track unless you do great preparation. So every day, Mr. Military Man would have me up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And
that's torture.
It is. He'd knock on that door.
You're going to be a teenager. Why are you going to have to get up that early?
During the summertime. I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he took me to the track, made sure I stayed up on it. But it was great discipline.
Yeah.
So we did that. So they really shaped me. Me loving to cook. My granddad cooked. My grandmother cooked. And so I'm sorry, Mom, but she didn't cook. She had a few dishes that she cooked. But the way that I cook came from my dad. And came from my grandparents.
And thank God for that, because my wife, she can throw down some cooking. Hey, I'm just going to put it out there now. She can throw down. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. I am reaping the rewards of that right now.
So after we had a child, that was really difficult because I had to beg my mom to stay home. I had to beg her not to kick me out, because that actually was one of those things to where it's like, you don't get pregnant. The rule was, if you get pregnant, you got to go. Sidebar, what kind of foolishness is that? My mom was not the only one who had that philosophy. That was a philosophy of many during that time. So I don't want to just make it seem like it was a her thing, but it's like, if you get pregnant, that's it. You got to go. Well, now I have a kid, and this is when you're going to like the uncertainty of that. So I was pregnant in high school and got a job. Started working. So just trying to provide for her and trying to make sure that was taken care of. And you stepped up in a major way. Now, let me just tell you, not only did he step up in a major way, he was Mr. Celebrity at the same time.
I can talk a little bit about that.
Yes, please.
I can talk
enlighten the people at how things were struggling for me. And you were Mr. Trophy.
Mr. Trophy. All right, so honestly, okay, so we know that there's a lot of hypocrisy that in the world. I mean, it just is. So yes, my wife, well, she was my girlfriend at the time. I got my girl pregnant. I knocked her up, or however you want to say it, right? And during that time, she was like made an outcast. At a church, she was forced to get up to so-called admit the sin. You know, they really wanted her to get in front of the church to apologize for getting pregnant. Was I forced to do that? No, they didn't care anything about me. You know, it takes two, but they only wanted to focus on the girl getting pregnant. Crazy, right? So my wife is going through that. And then, of course, at school and stuff like that, I mean, she's walking around. I mean, her belly's showing and stuff like that. So it's different. You know, she's going to feel a little bit different, right? You know, when I think about that, it makes me feel horrible, you know, thinking about that. Now during that same time, though, because we went to different high schools. At my school, it became known that, hey, I was about to be a teenage father. You know, and I talked about that. I wrote a poem about it. You know, they put it in the school paper. It's like, oh, man, check out this young man. He wrote a whole poem about becoming a teenage father. You know, in Abilene, I actually got put on a panel about teenage pregnancy. So the local news station actually interviewed me.
The local news station had him.
Yes, and I was talking about being a teenage being a teenage parent, and what that looked like. And then I actually spoke at a church. It was a different church about being a teenage father. And so yes, I was being paraded around like a celebrity because I got this girl pregnant. In the meantime, she's been pushed out, made a scapegoat. Now, that's not right. It's not. It takes two, and everybody should be working together. But that's what happened.
And so me still being the good girl, I really just didn't want to stay a baby mama. It's not really what I wanted to
Well,
do. So I had to let him know, like, hey, I really would like to have a family, but if that's not where you want to be, this is not an ultimatum. This is just where I'm at. This is not what I want to do. But I got to go. I'm going to have to leave my house. So what are we going to do? I can figure it out between me and, our daughter. And of course, you'll be able to have all access to her, but we're going to figure out life on our own, because that's what I knew. It was like, hey, I got me. So I was like, hey, if go to college, I actually told you, please go to college. You wanted to go to
to
where?
college, right?
I couldn't remember where you wanted to go. So you wanted to go to college, and I really encouraged you to do so, and very much meant that.
It was
And I
UT,
was like,
University of
there we
Texas.
go, UT. So I was like, hey, very much so. Please go and do that, because one of the things I never wanted was you to resent me for feeling like, okay, now I can't be what I want to be, and I miss college because of her. And I never wanted you to resent me or our child. So I was like, go do that. And so you made the decision.
No, yeah. Well, I'm not going to abandon my family, period. I mean, absolutely not. That's my girl. That's my kid. Ain't nobody could take my kids better than me. I mean, some people might call that old school, but why would that be old school? That's your kid. Fellas, men, it's your kid. It's your baby. They belong to you. Take care not only of your responsibility, but it's your kid. Honestly, that's just foreign to me. I mean, I don't understand. This is just me speaking. I really don't understand how a man would not really choose to take care of his kid. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, I do understand that, like, if you're not married, it could be some baby mama drama and stuff like that to make it more difficult for that to happen. But it's very important that you are in that baby's life.
Now, we're going to go there.
Let's go there.
Ladies, stop tripping. If you and him don't work, then you and him don't work. But you worked at some point.
Oh, well.
And so it's just as much on some of us ladies. So there are some ladies who will make it difficult because they make them one and the same. They make the relationship, if we're not going to have the relationship and we're not going to be together, what I'm going to do is dangle this child in front of you. That we got to stop that, because these are things that impact children's lives. And so then they end up sitting on the parking
Right.
They end up having these conversations. They end up with all of these different challenges. They didn't necessarily have to. You don't have to stay together, but you can still show what healthy, loving relationship looks like. And you actually can model that for your kid. And that's very important. And that's something I got to give it to you. When you found out I was pregnant, you were right there with me when we went to go get that test.
Oh, yeah.
We went to the health department,
Girl.
took the test, found out, and immediately you went into the role. I, on the other hand, was like, I'm good. Be free. Caca.
What is that? Caca.
Caca.
What in the world?
That's like letting you free. It's like the bird.
That's a bird.
It's a bird. Let you go.
That's a bird. Okay.
Let you go, be free. Because
Right.
once again,
I
I
got
didn't
you.
want you to be resentful.
Right.
But
Right.
the thing is you weren't. And so
No.
you went to work, you got a car, you started doing your thing,
I did
and
my
it was
thing,
like,
yeah.
so. But I also want to say that guys sometimes get such a bad reputation, because I would say that there are more guys that are actually doing just that, or want to do just that. They want to step up for their children. Whether or not they stay with the baby mama or not, they actually do. They actually do want to take care of their kids,
Right.
and they are doing it. Have you been now going to the grocery store? It's hilarious. You go to
Right.
the grocery store, you go to the mall, you go wherever,
Oh, yeah.
and you can see a proud dad with his
Man,
one or two kids,
I
and
love
you
it.
can tell
Yeah.
when he doesn't have them as often.
You can tell that too.
They look like a fish out of water. But we got to give it to him because of the fact that it is a major thing. So you doing that, impact. That's something that now, because later on in our podcast, we actually are going to have our daughter on our podcast.
Yeah.
So that actually is something that we'll actually explore. But it makes a difference having your parents. Once again, you can decide that it's not in the best interest of the two of you to not be in a relationship and still be present for your children and find a way. And that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And we also want to emphasize the fact that you never should just stay in a relationship or stay married just for the kids' sake. That's like one of the worst things that you can do because the kids are going to feel that underlying tension because they can feel that and that can affect them in a very negative way.
Absolutely. If you talk to people who find out later that their parents got divorced, more often than not all the time, because there are surprises that they're like, I can't believe my parents. That happens every once in a while, but more often than not, the kids are way smarter than we give them credit for, and they know that y'all don't like each other. They know that it's tight. They know it's tense.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if there is so much tension, and don't let there be abuse or anything like that
yeah.
going on in the home,
Unacceptable.
you are actually causing triggers, and there's all these other things that become an issue as a result of you saying that you're staying together for the kids, and you can still show up.
Right.
You can show up to their plays, you can show up to their Christmas programs, and y'all can find a way. But let me just be honest. If you are the mom and the dad, you got to grow up yourselves, and you have to decide that that kid is the responsibility.
Right.
And so you find your normal, find that thing out, and be transparent. Be straight up and say,
Right.
we're working this thing out.
Right.
Because kids actually really appreciate honesty in the way that they can handle it.
Right. You're absolutely right. I mean, just sort of be honest about it, as much as you can. But the kids, they got to be priority as far as with that.
Because otherwise they grow up saying it was their fault. They start to feel responsible for the breakup because they're like, oh, it must have been my fault. I must not have done something. And a lot of times it's because of their response. It's the response that they're feeling from one or both of the parents. And once again, parents, do not use your children as the reason to get together or the thing that is the pawn.
Don't use your kids as weapons,
Don't
man, or as bargaining chips. Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that to the babies.
Because
Don't do
then,
that.
once
Yeah.
again, it causes issues. So we went through that. We got married.
We got married, and opposites attract. Back in our last podcast, I was talking about the fact of how my wife, my girl at the time, how we were so much alike, man. She loved jazz, she loved good music, she was laid back, she was all of this, and I just knew that this was my girl. That, man, we was gonna do everything together. I was wrong.
So
Hello, everybody. Once again, thank you very much for joining our podcast. We want to quickly tell you one of the reasons that we started Reaching for Your Marriage is the fact that marriage is important. Coming together is very important. It's a life-changing event. It is something that'll be beneficial to you.
And we've got great conversation about dating, relationships, and all of the things in between, because relationships, that's where people are. People want relationships, and we want to talk about it. So we have a Facebook page. We would love it if you would join it, Reaching for Your Marriage. We also have a YouTube page. We need you to do what?
We need you to click that button at the top. We need you to subscribe. We need you to like. The more people that get into this, the more that this is going to spread. And this is good news. This is good stuff. This is a blessing.
And it's not just for those that are married. It's for those that are in a relationship, those who are dating, and those who are just a little bit curious about what we're over here talking about.
Exactly. So once again, please subscribe, click that button, like it. And now it's time to go back
To the episode. Okay. We got married and got into an apartment.
We
And
did.
Oh my God. Okay, first of all, we got to set the tone of how furnished our apartment was.
Well, our first apartment, our piece of furniture that we had was a trampoline.
The
in the front.
trampoline was everything. It was
It
the
was-
couch.
it was the couch. The dining room table. It was a little bitty circle trampoline. That was the only piece of furniture that we had. Yeah. Well, we had a mattress for the bedroom, but it was a mattress that you laid on the floor. That's it. It was me, my wife,
And our daughter.
Our daughter.
Yes,
That's where
but
we're at.
your parents actually let you take the dresser, so we did have a
Oh yeah,
dresser.
yeah, yeah. My mom and dad, they did let me take the dresser. Yeah, they did do that.
So here we are in the apartment.
Yeah.
We really don't have a lot of stuff, but the
Yeah.
thing is you don't need a lot
Oh,
of
wait, wait,
stuff.
wait, wait. Hold on, hold
What's
on.
up?
Well, we was quite married yet. I think it was like a month before we got married.
Yes, we moved in a month before we got
Before we
married.
got married. Yeah, so we still wasn't even married yet. So yes, I do remember that. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. Just that whole dynamic. So yeah, we were broke. We were broke. But we still made it. But at the same time, there was some things that we started to learn about each other that we didn't realize before.
Oh man. So he's a mama's boy.
Oh yeah, I absolutely was a mama's boy.
So there were things that he expected me to do because his mom did all of the things. And so that was a challenge.
Yeah. Well, actually, I want to go a little bit back farther than that. When so yeah, I'm just being open and transparent. I'm a grown man now, so I
Oh
don't
my
mind.
gosh.
I could talk about when I was a kid. Since my mother, since she had gotten hurt and she really couldn't work like a normal job, she was a homemaker, so she was at home all the time. We stayed in this little bitty small house, and a lot of times she just needed things to do. My mom was she was sort of OCD, so she needed to clean everything.
Sort of.
Yeah, well, sort of. So she needed to clean everything, and this included my room. So I didn't clean my room. My
He
mother
didn't
did.
make his bed.
I didn't make my bed. I
He
didn't
had
clean my
zero
room.
chores.
I didn't have no. My mom, she did everything, but the reason is because of just the situation. Now I
Right.
wasn't going to complain or anything like that, but so my mom, she did everything. Now in your household, you did everything,
Right.
so that was totally opposite.
But
Like
then that goes into gender roles.
the
And
gender
that's the
roles.
thing that people don't talk about when you're dating each other is that what does that look like when you move in together? Who does what? I mean, we're in 2025. So, I mean, there are a lot of people that say, okay, I don't mind because, the way that we were raised or the way I was raised is you have to be able to cook and clean. Now, me, the chick in 2025, she's like, oh, I don't cook. I know how to order. Baby, I can order you. I can whip you up and
that's
order
right.
real quick, and
That's
then we'll
right.
have it here in 25 minutes.
Well, if you know something, you're right about that. You're right about that. You're right about that. So that was one of the things that even though we had this mattress, we still like to put covers on it, and try to make it up. But my wife, since she came from that strict military background, it sort of had the opposite effect on her a little bit. Like in other words, she just rebelled. She didn't want to do
None
none
of
of
that.
that type of stuff. She was like, "Yeah, I ain't doing none of that." In the meantime, it's like, "Well, we should do this, we should do that," and then my wife's like, "No, I'm not
Well,
having it."
because the challenge was, I'm like, okay, so we have a house together, and yes, but we're both trying, going to work, and you were going to school and going to work.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, so now everything. So you come home and it was like, okay, no responsibilities. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So there was a part of that though that I went with because I felt like
Right.
I needed to do all of those things in order, like that's what a wife does. Because I was
Uh-huh.
pretty much raised to be a wife. So trying to be the perfect everything.
Right. Was a challenge. It was. And of course, that's just a small synopsis of when we first got together. I mean, of course, we got stories galore, but something else that I want to quickly highlight was, despite the fact that we learned some of the opposites that we still figured out some different ways of how to overcome that.
Well, because once we got married, we made the decision, look, we are married. We want to work this thing out. What we don't want to do is have a broken relationship and not make it. Like we got to give it a shot. Because then it was like, okay, so then we're going to do what? We're going to break up and do what? Still be together? We break up to still end up being together. So we were in the struggleville for a while, but there's nothing like when you are with your person. It is okay to struggle together because let me tell you, some of our best memories came from some of the most humble times. It's not always people are like, the fairy tale of it all, the Barbie, the Barbie and Ken of it all. That's what people want. But real talk, when you talk about people being married for a long time, you want to see people light up like we do.
Yeah.
Talk about those humble beginnings where, you're sharing a pack of noodles. Or you're making noodles into a gourmet meal. Or, some of those times, those are the things that actually, I think, really build the foundation of a relationship. And those are the things that people remember. Those are the things that make you smile.
So, as we wrap this up, some of the other things that we're going to talk about, in this podcast, is we have different guests, and of course, we're going to keep talking about it too, is about just making it through a lot of this. This is one of the reasons that we wrote this book, Reach for Your Marriage, because being married is a living document. In other words, it's something that you're always going to have to be working on. It never stops.
It doesn't. And it shouldn't. Because as you go through, as you said before, you're changing, I'm changing, we're growing. And so we want it to be open. And there are some challenges that any relationship, let me stress, any relationship, friendship or whatever, is going to go through. And I will say that one of the things that made us work is we continue to fight for our friendship.
That's right. We're continuing to fight for our friendship. And this is one of our missions, is we always want to continue to reach. And this is why we call this podcast Reaching for Your Marriage. Now, it's not just about marriage, but that's a real big base of it. But we want to continue to reach. And what does reach stand for again, baby?
Raise expectations and create hope.
So we're going to see you guys on the next podcast. Thank you for joining us. Once again, my name is Oscar T. Lewis, and this is my wife,
LaShonda Lewis.